So I did that this morning. I went to the gym, bumped into a guy, on the way back. Well, on the way there, so that restricted my gym session to about 20 minutes.
Oh, that's so good.
And then we go to the pub and then they'll do all the hard work. So.
Oh man, well, might as well get into it,
We'll just get
into it. So I'm just going to do a little intro. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Manchester Indie Theatre podcast. You're here with me, Caroline.
And Amelia.
And this week we have Danny Ryder as our special guest. And us two and Danny go way, way back. So we're really excited to chat about all kind of things, anything and everything. But I think first and foremost, as we usually do, we're going to kick off with a little what's on in Manchester. Okay, so Red Line Theatre has a new show coming to the Fringe. It's In Good Conscience, it's called, and it's from the 11th to the 14th of July. The blurb reads, relationships and morality, love and ethics. At what point do good deeds become dangerous? And what do you do when your partner disagrees on how to make the world a better place? Previous GM Fringe Award winners Red Line Theatre returned to the festival with a brand new two-hander about protest, polarity and the perils of politics. So yeah, In Good Conscience is from Red Line Theatre. We had the lovely Barbara Diesel on as one of our earlier episodes, so please do catch that as part of the Greater Manchester Fringe.
And then we also have another show on at 53.2. It is called Love Making to an Inappropriate Soundtrack. Written by Jenny Bushell and presented by Peripateia Theatre Company. Told through 10 vignettes, this show captures momentary glimpses within the lives of people who love each other. This is a one-act vignette-style production dipping into the kaleidoscope of affection, seamlessly blending the sweet, the bitter, and the utterly ridiculous all together. And so that is Love Making to an Inappropriate Soundtrack on at 53.2, 15th to the 17th of July.
That's such a great name. I'm all for the great names of shows at the moment. But now it's time to start chatting to our special guest, Danny.
Thanks
so much
our
for
good
coming
old
on.
pal.
Good old pal.
Thanks for inviting us.
Well, you're actually the reason that Amelia and I know each other.
You are.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We actually referenced you, I think, in our first ever episode.
The pilot episode we did, we gave you a little cheeky name drop.
Yeah. And
we got to know each other as writers, actors, creatives through One Play One Day.
Yeah, or
which
OPOD.
we've talked about, OPOD, which we've talked about a few times because this was a really... It's not even a competition. How would we describe it? It was like an event.
Yeah.
An event where we would have writers, actors and directors meet up. But you know what? I'm not the best person to introduce this because we have the producer of One Play One Day with us. It was a great thing for anyone listening. It was a brilliant event and it used to raise money for lots of local charities around Greater Manchester. It was a great privilege to be part of it. Danny, if you'd like to give a bit of an introduction into how you met us and One Play One Day.
I'd love to hear how you got into doing that and, everything about that.
It wasn't mine originally. It wasn't my idea or concept. It had been done before. I think it started in London and a friend of mine, Barry Evans, he used to do it in Manchester
I know Barry.
A long time ago, and he got involved with the first one and we kept saying, we need to get this on again because the Manchester fringe scene's just dying a death here. It needs something. So we kept talking about it, and one day I finished work in town and I just went in the King's Arms and I said, what's the chances of putting this thing on in the near future? He said, we've got a date in a month. Is that too soon? And I went, just book it. And I said, if we don't do it, it'll never happen. So I rang Barry and I said, I'm all right to use the name. And he said, yeah. He said, I'm not going to get involved with it. He said, but you do it. And he was part of the first one. He came and directed a piece, which was good. And
that's great to tie the previous version of it with the new one.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah. And it just grew from there. In the first one at the King's Arms, I wasn't expecting the turnout we had, and we was turning people away at the door.
It was always rammed.
We had to move to a bigger venue, and we did, and went to the Lions Den, who were great. We never should have left there really, but
it was cracking. That was when I did it first with the Lions Den. It was so good.
And that was also same here. It was really good fun.
It was fab, and you did come in at a time when there wasn't really much on the scene of that kind, and there were previous opportunities with things like 24/7, which had since been defunct, and it just came at a really good time, I think.
But before we get further into it, I do want to give Danny Ryder his introduction.
Oh yeah, we forgot
We're
about
not doing
doing
that.
that.
We need to.
Oh, my bio,
I feel like
maybe.
we know Danny so well that we're just sat here like, oh, we're just having a chat. But
You
to
guys
our
know
listeners,
Danny.
of course you know
Yeah.
Danny Ryder. Danny Ryder has been an actor for over 20 years, predominantly in TV dramas. He's worked across the Manchester Fringe theatre scene in different projects, including the 24/7 Theatre Festival and One Play One Day, which we'll be giving many shout outs to, which he went on to produce from 2022 to 2024. Danny likes to spend his time travelling around the world, and it was during lockdown that he started to play poker professionally, which had just been a side hobby previously, and this has now allowed him even more freedom to travel and play in different events worldwide.
And you have another side hustle, of course, now as a driving instructor.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have sort of a range of jigsaw of side hustles, or I know
You
each
do
one
a
maybe
lot
becomes
and
a
medical
main
role
one.
play as well.
Yeah,
So-
which is, I think it's a great thing for actors, medical role play. For years, when I started out acting, it was very difficult. I was doing full-time jobs constantly. And if I had an audition, because they were all in person then, you know, I'd have to throw a sickie or make up an excuse of some sort, and I was bouncing job to job to job. And, you know, to find that was good, really. It allowed that flexibility. And then also, Actors Call Centre as well was great for that. And I know someone dissed it a bit in a few weeks ago, but honestly, you can't diss that place. Like, it was good for what it was. And I think a lot of times people don't realise how hard it was to have a full-time job and try and do auditions. It allowed you to do that flexibility.
Yeah.
Where it became difficult for people is some people started to take the piss a bit, because it was, they'd say, oh, I've got an audition, when they hadn't, you know. So the place started getting a bit stricter and asking for proof. But, you know, to have that as an actor, that flexibility somewhere is great. And the London office has kind of thrived more, because I think down there they understand they have to pay a lot more in rent, a lot more in bills. People down there doing that job don't just do that job. My friend worked down there at 3 jobs, you know, so they appreciate it a bit more. We're probably a bit more privileged up here that it's a bit cheaper. But it was a good place to work.
But it's difficult, isn't it? Because you have to work really hard to find that sort of jigsaw structure to your life if you're a creative. Casual opportunities, I've said this before, they're quite contentious, because you often don't have like the security you would have in a full-time job, and you have to sort of, a lot of the time you have to sort out your own tax if you're like hired self-employed or anything like that. But the upside is that they do have that flexibility. So if you have medical role play, which is maybe more of a casual contract, if you have your driving lessons, which you can fit around your schedule, it's a smart thing to do. It's hard to juggle, but yeah, full-time work is very, very hard to maintain when you're a creative, definitely.
It's got a bit easier now with self-tapes. I used to think self-tapes were great, because then, you know, it allows you to have a full-time job. You don't need to take time off work.
Yeah, at least for the auditions.
But I've realised how much of an edge I've lost in auditions, being able to go in the room, and that's resulted in a lot less work over recent years when it's been self-tapes, only because they're literally just watching you do the scene.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never got anything from a self-tape. I'm so shit at them, and it's just that lack of connection.
It's you don't get to meet the director. One of the most important things when you go in an audition is you prepare it however you prepare it, and the director gives you direction, and they want to see how you adapt to direction, which took me a bit of time. I'd have it in my own head how I wanted to do it, but that's what they're looking for. Can you take direction on set?
Yeah.
You don't get to show that in there. You don't get to bring across your personality.
No, that's true. It's like having the chat with them, and even beforehand and after, I think, is a big part of it. You're building that relationship, whereas when you're sending a tape, it's like, you know, that it feels very detached, I guess, from the people watching it.
I've got 2 jobs from self-tapes in the last few years. And I remember one, we were doing One Play One Day, and I went back to someone's house to film it quickly in the middle of like all the chaos of the show going on. Did a couple of takes, that'll do, send it. And it was shit, really, the self-tape. I got the job. And I said to the director on the day, I said, and I'd worked with him before. I'd worked with him in Alby City. And I said, Dan, I've got to be honest, the self-tape I sent was a bit shit. I'd just come back from Vegas. I rushed it. Why did I get the job? And he's like, 8 self-tapes. He said, I just saw him come through, saw your face, thought, Danny can do it. And that's it, you know. Another one I did for Corrie, but I'd worked with them before and they knew me. I really rushed on an hangover, just knock this self-tape out in 20 minutes.
But that's the thing,
before
isn't it?
deadline.
Like, a lot of the time,
then-
self-tapes just show this person who I've worked with before is interested in this project. I might as well work with them because I know they work well. And so that then means that maybe, I don't want to say like it was nepotistic or anything, but that kind of cliqueiness maybe perpetuates itself a bit more with self-tapes because they're not able to meet a new face and try them out with different direction. Because obviously if someone sends a self-tape in and they go, oh, I know that person, they'll be like, they can take direction, we'll just take them on. And it allows them to, in the worst case scenario, it can allow people to be a bit lazier about casting.
It
Obviously
does
that works
allow
out in your favour in that case, so that's fine.
No, but that's it. But on the flip side, there's loads when I think I've done a good self-tape and you know, I've not got close to it. You know, them things matter. I think actors worry too much about, I think they get a bit insecure about their own performance, stuff like that. Whereas, you know, if you couldn't act, you wouldn't be doing it now. You know, there's no one that much better than you in the running. So
you know as well, when you're judging your own performance off a tape as well, because you could spend however many times doing it over and over again if you're not happy with this one, not happy with that one, but you never really know. You're only seeing yourself through your eyes.
Directing yourself is so hard.
And also, like you're saying, I feel like there's something great about those tapes that are done quite like, oh, I haven't got a lot of time, I just need to do it, because maybe there's an element of it's just very natural, it's just very real, it's not that prepared, it's off the cuff, and I think that can translate. But also, ultimately, you just don't know how that's going to come across, so you don't want to give yourself the stress of antagonising yourself over it for hours and hours. Just get it done and off, right, as best as you can.
And that's the best thing about networking, and like you said, you know, stuff like OPOD bringing you two together, and you know, as we got Mickey Jones in as well to direct, who's done loads of stuff in television. So, you know, them opportunities are great, and that's why stuff like OPOD and, you know, Fringe Theatre is so important really to get involved with. You get a lot of actors, I feel, nowadays, there's a bit of entitlement, you know, they think, I don't need to do this, it's not paid, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, you know. I remember when OPOD started, trying to recruit actors at first, before we started getting inundated, the more popular it got. And I'd asked, I remember one person saying to me at work, and went, no, I feel it's like a line learning exercise. And I thought, you haven't barely cut your teeth in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, you should be out there, like, pushing yourself as an actor. That element's gone in so many people.
It was such a challenge
success.
in a great way.
Yeah.
That was what was good about it. It created a community, which we've talked about before, and it was a really great challenge for any actor, writer and director to really put yourself to the test. You know, it is like the ultimate test, I think, to learn, you know, a 15-minute script and do it on the night of the same day that you've received it. It's a big thing, and I think that we're all in that together.
Yeah, but
and
also the fact that it is a bit of a line learning exercise to some degree.
To a degree.
There's no problem with that.
Which is actually, that's always helpful.
Yeah,
I've lost my edge learning lines. It takes me ages now. I mean, I'd never acted in OPOD, but it was such pressure, and people just did it. They just did it. It was fab. But also, we've mentioned sort of the idea of the contentious issue of unpaid work, and I think, you know, as long as you apply and you are aware that it's unpaid, it's in the name. It's one day. You're giving 1 day of your time. It's usually a weekend. Well, it was a weekend day, and it's very
what you
little.
get from that as well. You know, you're doing it was you as well, because we did it. The proceeds from the tickets would go to great causes. You were part of such a great community. What you got from joining that it's thinking about it like that as well. You know, of what you actually gained in terms of just the friendships that you make, the fact that you get to have a finished script that you might, which as we've said before, can be really easy to just put off, you know, and not get something finished. But you had to, if you're a writer, you're getting it done and sent that night. And I know, because I'd be sending it to you at 5 a.m, Danny, like, there you go.
It's a bit like running a business though as well. It's an investment. A lot of the time people who run businesses, they don't make any money in the first year or two, because it's all about building the thing up and proving themselves. And there is that element of taking on unpaid work where it's like, you can't convince someone to give you a paid gig, especially like a big chunky paid gig, unless they already know what you can do. And OPOD was the opportunity to prove what you could do, whether as a writer or as an actor or as a director, to get something on your CV, say I've done something in front of an audience, and to get your foot on that ladder, and that could lead to paid work. And there's been some fantastic people on OPOD. I mean, quite recently Steve Goodwayne's been on, was it Emmerdale? He had an extensive speaking role on Emmerdale. Steve was in one of mine, and the one that you were in, Genzini. That was my. I don't want to pick favourites, but I think that was my favourite one that I did. Yeah, Steve was just. I can see why great. He's done how he's done so well. But the writing as well, maybe a glutton for punishment, but I got so excited every time it was coming up. I was like, oh, I love writing till 4 a.m. It's like being on drugs.
I know, I'd get a coffee. I think I did it as a writer twice and then as an actor 3 times. Yeah. But yeah, it was very, very different disciplines.
Very.
You know, and I really enjoyed both, because I think even as a writer, you know, it'd be getting a coffee at like 11:30 when I got home. I'd be like, right, I'm going to get started then.
I wrote the weirdest shit as well. When it's like 4 in the morning, I was like, sorry guys.
Fever dream where you're like writing, it's just, what is this?
Because what we did, the way it worked was that we would all meet up in a pub. Sometimes it was Lasagari, sometimes it was elsewhere, and we would just, it was like names out of a hat. Each writer got to work with 1 director and 4 actors, and you just got separated out into little groups. You sat, you had a really intense chat. The last time we did it, I was actually cycling across Germany, so I was in a McDonald's in Germany trying to Zoom with Natalie Pertuzzo and a bunch of people.
I remember that.
But then it was like, right, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Decide what you want to do, and then the writers just fuck off and start writing, and write until 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And everyone had their own ways of deciding what they were going to write. Early days, I didn't have any idea at all, and I like to sit down and ask the actors, like, what would you love to play, but you don't think you'll get the chance to? Because I want you to like cast them against type. And then I was like, okay, so these sort of personas we've come up with, why would they be in a space together, and what would they be doing? And that was so fun. I loved that.
Yeah, I think then, like you said, it's investing your time into stuff. Because I started just with acting class, I didn't go to drama school or nothing, so I felt a bit out of place at first with everyone. And it's very easy nowadays. People go and join an acting class and they're there for 3 months, and I'm an actor.
Yeah.
You're doing it for 5 minutes, like you do, and then all that quickly becomes, I should be paid, or this, that, and the other. You know, you forget all these other careers that are hobbies that come careers in football. As they're kicking a ball from 5 years old. It takes time. You've got to invest in yourself. I used to love going and doing that, and people we had involved with OPOD, like Russell Richardson. I remember doing that JB Shorts with him, and everything he'd say to me, I just, would soak it up, the information. I'd relish the opportunity to work with actors like that. I'd have paid to do it.
Russell directed one of mine. He was great.
Everyone's wanting to be paid for everything. I would have paid to learn from him and others. And we've had Ian Curley, who for me has been the best actor I've seen in Manchester over the years I've been watching stuff on the fringe theatre scene.
Yeah.
And people should be wanting to learn from these people and get out there. And it's a credit to everyone that got involved with OPOD. And like you say, Steve Goodwayne is another prime example of that. He just puts his mind to it and gives 110%.
He really does.
He deserves the success he's getting now.
He does, absolutely. Yeah, and I suppose you've got to look at it as the value of it isn't always monetary, because you get, like you say, you'd have paid to listen to sort of Russell's advice and things like that. You're getting all of these insights, all of these connections. A lot of networking events you have to pay to get into.
Yeah.
This is free to be in, free to get into a space and do. And the connections that we've made have been so valuable. I am loath to recommend people work for free, especially if it's exploitative, especially if you've got people going, oh, it's exposure. Pick and choose, don't just work for free, but try and discern what is a valuable opportunity that you are willing to invest some time in. And especially if it's something like OPOD, where it's a day, it is 1 day of your time, that the return you get for that is phenomenal. I mean, obviously OPOD is no longer running. It'd be great to get it back up at some point, because it was so great, but
we can talk about that, because I remember Danny would be there running around to the different venues to check on all the groups.
Yeah,
I never even read the scripts in the morning. I was just trusting you. I didn't have time to read it.
No, because you'd be on your way, wouldn't you, just to get everything, because you pulled all the strings, I guess, for the whole thing. You got us all kind of together, but then you produced the whole show and then got us made sure everything sort of flowed seamlessly and got us to the venues and everything like that. Yeah. So it was a lot of work as well for you.
But it was good, because I had good people. I'm not cynical, you, but you two as well. Were always great to help out. And Helen, we had Ella on the last one that ran around doing bits for us as well. So
people
had some good support that mucked in and.
But you did the vast majority of a huge amount.
But the venues were great for the most part. Yeah, so all that kind of contributed as well to it. You know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it was great that a lot of venues did give up their space for free, because you did it to raise money for charity. It was always a packed house, and there were a range of great local charities. So it wasn't just about creating art to promote the artists and to promote the writers, the creatives, the actors.
Be raising awareness of like really important causes.
And raising money to make a real change as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just sort of self-congratulatory arty-farty shit. It was like, it had a solid point to it as well, which just added to that.
It was important to me to bring the fun back as well with it. And that's why I tried to steer a lot to comedy stuff, because, you know, you do see a lot of stuff now that's quite political, and I just wanted people to go out and have a fun night and a fun part of it. Like, fuck all that. Just have fun.
But then, to be fair,
we
like,
definitely did.
We did.
It was a laugh.
I think every single piece I wrote was heavily comedy focused, but they were all political as well. You can do that.
Yeah, but
You're
you
fine.
can do.
But I did see your advice being, you know, try to steer towards comedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really good piece of advice for like quick response, fast writing, where people have to learn it very fast, because also audiences are a lot more forgiving if people fuck up on stage when they're doing comedy. Like if you're in the middle of like a death scene and then you forget your lines, it's a bit like, who's going to save me? I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, well, Amelia had the hardest one with that as well, you know.
Oh, so. Well, one of there was a show that we did where it was, the writing was great. It was such a strong piece of writing. It was great fun, and that was a challenge for sure, because it was quite a lot of I'd say like a lot of like specific references, you know, to really like classic plays, and you know we had to sort of be really on the ball with that. But obviously it was a challenge for all of us as actors, and we were very much drilling the lines until like the last moment we went out. But you know, once you're up on stage, that's that. You know, you're out there, you do what you do, and I feel like one of the great things, again, it's a really great thing for any actor is building the relationships with people that you're on stage with, because I think you had to very much be connected with and listening to the people that were around you, because if someone did drop a line, which, you know, as you would expect with when you've only had a few hours with it, I think what people came and did was incredible. And people really the performances, the writing, the standard of every 15-minute play was really high, wasn't it? Even you would never think, oh, it's only been done in a few hours, and you would never know if lines had been dropped. You would never know if what it was meant to be originally, because all the actors were so great at working together.
There was when I did it, like when I was part of when Barry ran it, and we did one. I remember it was a Gamblers Anonymous group. And we had one guy in there who's still seen now. He's a great guy, really good actor. And then he forgot loads. He was dead apologetic, but it was great just how it worked. It was it just worked. You know, he came across well. Everyone else come across well.
Just if
and you just laugh about it after.
Yeah.
That's one of them things. If people forget the lines and it all goes to shit, just you know,
just
enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
I mean, audience will enjoy it because they get the concept.
You forget that the audience know. They know that it's all been done in the space of like less than 24 hours.
They're very aware of that.
Yeah, they're more impressed by the fact that you're just doing it. It doesn't matter if you fluff a couple of lines. They'll be like, well, of course that was going to happen if we did it in 24 hours.
And a lot of people's friends are there as well. Like, at the end of the day, it was there was a community of creatives involved, but then the audience, you know, I think a lot of the people that came to they would come back to different OPODs, and they were very supportive. Like, I don't feel like when I ever came out as an actor that I ever felt that we had an audience that was like really judging or you know, everyone was very much on our side. It always felt like that energy in the room was very positive.
Yeah, because you did acting and writing in OPOD at different ones. I just did the writing, but
as an actor, it was. I think I did it as an actor first before I did it as a writer. Like, I remember the very first one.
Oh, I was just thinking about that.
I was so nervous. I was really nervous. So.
Oh, you were thinking about your first? I was thinking about the first one.
Oh gosh! Well, I remember the first one that I saw as an audience member, which was
when guy collapsed.
There was we
collapse
that
we were
was
in the King's Arms.
Writer. I knew him. He collapsed at the back of the room. He just, in the end, I think he got too hot and just passed out and whatever. But that was one thing that a lot for the first one, because everyone's looking at me, what are you going to do? And I'm like thinking, and it was warm because we were trying to, and it got hot, and we were, you know, cramping everyone in. And then anyway, so luckily I had a few friends that had come and kind of supported the first night that I was sat with at the back, and they sort of helped him out. and people on stage just stopped for a minute, then they carried on. Then the play, because I directed one as well, so my cast are out seeing to him on the floor, and I'm like, get on stage, you're on stage, you're on stage. And then getting people to look after him, and it was fine in the end.
Gosh,
So,
you don't. What a baptism of fire! Oh my god,
I think as happens a lot in live theatre and any sort of production, things happen, you know, at the end of the day people are human, and things happen, and things happen while the show's going on as well. But I think the fact that everyone came together the way they did, and every single time we did it, it happened, you know. Everyone, you know, stepped up to the plate and very much did what they had to do. It was, you know, there was a mix of people involved, people that had done OPOD a few times and felt more comfortable versus people that had done it as a first timer, which I know, as I said before, with my first show as an actor, I was so nervous. I was very, very nervous that all day I was like, and I remember just like that half hour before we were about to get on, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. What am I doing? And then the second you get out there, I think something happens in general with theatre where once you're on the stage, the lights are on you, the audience is there. It's like something magic happens where you suddenly feel kind of the adrenaline hits, and actually you're like, oh wait, no, I'm supposed to enjoy this. This is good fun. Why am I so scared? Like, nothing bad's gonna happen to me. Even if the worst in my mind happens, I'm gonna be okay. I'm just gonna enjoy it. I'm just gonna do my best. And then when you're in it, you're in it. And I absolutely loved it. And I felt like as an actor every time it was like just pure adrenaline. And it was great.
But one of the things that I thought about it was it puts me in mind of, do you ever have like actors' nightmares where it's like, I have to be on stage in 5 minutes and I don't know my lines. People are electively putting themselves in that position in OPOD, but that's kind of healthy. It's kind of like, because it shows you what might happen if that was the case, and you're probably going to be fine.
I think I really take my hat off to everyone that got involved with it, because I think what I realise now is that there's not as many people that maybe, 10, 15 years ago they were really oversubscribed when they did OPOD. I think everyone was willing to do everything. I think there's a lot of people now that are a bit scared of failing in their head. And it's really a credit to everyone that gets up there, because it is hard and daunting, and you know, you've really got to challenge yourself to become better, and I think everyone did from the process. It didn't break anyone, it didn't ruin anyone.
There was a lot of growth. I think for me it was a massive part.
I've seen that with you
of my like development as a creative. It was a huge part of it from when I started at the start of 2023. I think I did my first one with you, and then by the end I remember feeling so at peace, like on the day of the show. I remember thinking, it's going to be fine, like, and that's not to say that you don't still have nerves, you know. I think nerves are normal and they're always going to happen, but there was a level of, you know what, it is okay. I feel like I want to enjoy this. Like, I don't want this to be an experience where I'm just spending the whole time worried about, something going wrong, or worried about it. It really knocks that out of you, especially after doing that a few times. And I realised after that, as a performer, I want to be uncomfortable. I want to push myself to the point where I'm like, I really don't know, because that is the only way that you really start to grow.
But also, like, as a writer, it really helps you hone your craft, because you've got to do so much development. I mean, sometimes you can come in with an idea in advance, but you have to then tailor it to who you've got. So you're still writing until 4 a.m, no matter what. And that really helped me sort of in my career moving forward. And I think, you know, my play that's going into Offcut, Undeniable Proof, is, I don't think I would have written that if I hadn't done OPODs, because all the OPODs I did were kind of like Uncanny Valley, a bit weird, a bit freaky, because that's what I write about.
That was your thing. Well, it's like, I know this is a Caroline Lamb piece, right?
It's got aliens in it or some shit, I don't know. But that's the thing, I don't tend to write stuff like that apart from at 4 a.m. But, I mean, gosh, OPOD was it's done so much for so many careers, and hopefully something like that will come back in the future. You know, if anyone listening is interested in having a conversation about OPOD, we need it back. It's great.
It's it's being uncomfortable with, you know, just getting up there, and if you fuck up, so what? But again, it's a real thing that's kind of really ingrained in actors a lot of the time. It's like when you go for auditions and they're hanging on, did I get the part, or how did I do, or the amount of conversations I've had over the years, or I did it a bit like this, maybe I should have done this, maybe they didn't like me, will you watch this, does this look shit? You know, it's really like over thinking. You've got to just have faith in yourself. Like I say, when you're doing it, just... Sometimes you're going to be shit. You know, I've done shit auditions. I've done shit filming jobs. Don't make me a bad actor.
Yeah.
So what? If I go in an audition room, I don't get the job. I don't sweat. Oh, man, was my acting all right? Or this, that, and the other. It is what it is on the day. Maybe I did a good job.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't. So what?
Well,
Stop thinking like that. There's so many things you might not have looked right or whatever.
Yeah.
But I go into every audition thinking I need to do better next time. May well be because someone looks right. Most of the time
Yeah,
it
of course,
is.
yeah.
But I treat it as I need to do better next time. That's got to be your mentality. Don't dwell on whether it was shit or this, that and the other, or you should have done this. Like, just do your best, go in, try and be better for the next one.
But also
it's all out of your hands. You know?
With experiences like OPOD, you don't have time to worry about these things.
No,
once
you don't. You just
go on and do it.
You're in.
And the more
That's
you
it.
do that, it's like immersion therapy. The more you do that, the more, you know, so if you do find something like a one-day filmmaking thing or a one-day play, like, I'd say go for it, because the more you do it, you realise you don't have
the luxury of
privilege,
to kind of sit and dwell on that. You
Yes.
just have to get up and do it. And I think that
so healthy.
Yeah, I don't think it's healthy as an actor to constantly sort of second guess yourself and think, oh, how was that? What?
Yeah.
Maybe I should have been
Yeah.
more like this. I should have been like that. All you can do is what you did. You know, at the end, in the moment. What
Yeah.
you wanted to do, what felt right to you. Don't overthink it. I'd be really interested, because I remember we had lots of chats about, you mentioned 3-minute theatre, I think it was to
gosh,
me.
yeah,
Was
yeah,
it,
3 minute.
which I never got to do, but I remember you saying...
I never performed there, but I went to stuff there. But it wasn't just that. I probably just plucked that out at the time, but there used to be so many good places. You know, there was Joshua Brooks in town as well.
The last had an upstairs
Last had
space,
an upstairs bit, which was small, but it was just nice to have
Yeah,
spaces.
we did something,
Yeah, the
24/7.
Lasso Gallery.
The
Oh,
24/7 festival, you know, that was at the Co-op building. Before that was in the Printworks in the Midland Hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the Printworks, it was in this bar, and then that got shut down, I think, because it was a club as well at night.
Right.
And
The
it
Tourist
was a
as
bit
well,
rough.
did Southern Tourist.
Tourist, yeah. There was so many things like that, which, I mean, the King's Arms seems to be...
They're doing really well at the moment with
you
it.
know, rehab, which is good. I think Hope Mill's got a bit... You know, we just need places that are good, like, for people. We just need more. And I think it's great, obviously, like you guys doing something like this, and hopefully, you know, that might fuel more stuff being created around Manchester, more spaces. And I think the good thing is, like we did with OPOD, with rehearsal spaces, we just went in venues asking. There's probably venues that would turn a certain area or space they've got into an area to perform, because
Sevenoaks has done that.
yeah,
within the last
there
few
weren't big
years.
flashy spaces, a lot of these. You know, Joshua Brooks used the basement, Lasso Gallery used upstairs. There's loads of spaces like that. The Black Lion, before the hotel, that had a space upstairs. A friend of mine, he rented the pub, and then he turned that into a theatre space. And when we did, I don't know if I told you before, when we did a one play one day, it was in 2 venues at the same time.
Oh wow, I didn't know this.
Yeah, so
Oh, God,
one of the
that
last ones we
producing-
did. So basically, you had an audience in the King's Arms, you had an audience in the Black Lion,
God.
and you had 6 plays. So first half is going on at the Black Lion, and then the other groups in the King's Arms,
That's
and then
wild.
at the interval they swap venues.
That's amazing.
my
'cause
God.
that's
So
so
yeah,
close
it
to
was
each other.
mental. Yeah, that's
so
how big it
fun.
was. Like
That's
then,
massive.
yeah,
That's so
it was
cool.
brilliant. Yeah. We just see the others passing as we walk away. Good luck.
But
you know.
I know that Lisa at the Fringe, we talked to her on a while ago, and she is kind of going around knocking on doors, being like, "Can this be a theatre space?" Really, they are pushing to get more venues opening again.
She's done so much for the Manchester theatre scene as well.
So more power to her. I hope it keeps going.
It's hard, and I think obviously again you guys doing this, and it's like I was saying before, people have got to want to get involved as well. You know, we live in a different world now, social media, instant gratification. We've got to have people that, more and more people that are wanting to go out there, wanting to learn, wanting to better themselves, wanting to take these opportunities, because without anything else, it's fucking fun. You know?
Yeah,
Isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's just a good
it's
time,
fun. It's a good
guys.
time anyway. You know what I mean? Regardless of anything else, and it's a weekend, what are you going to do? Sit at home on Instagram, TikTok?
Yeah,
wasting
come
your
to
life.
some good theatre.
Do stuff.
Yeah.
Get out there and do it.
Do you have any burning desire to do anything creative coming up, Danny? Have you got anything in the pipeline, or...?
Yeah, because now you do many things. You've got your side hustles, and you do the producing. Like, you like to do lots of things. So is there anything specific? Like, do you want to continue down the acting road?
I think I want to step back from it for a bit, to be honest. In terms of the mainstream of where I've gone into with doing more TV stuff. I don't really like how it's going. I did want to kind of echo their point. The Fireside.
Oh, Fireside Theatre, great.
He said something which is really, really true about, just acting's not enough. You got to go and write and create. And the amount of times I've spoken to actors and say, "Oh, I'm not a writer." Well, go and learn to be one. Don't go and waste your money at bloody acting classes. Go and write. Go to writing class. If you want to be an actor, write your own stuff. You've got a phone now. You can create stuff.
But even going to writing classes, if you don't become a writer, you can become an actor that helps to work on R&D, so you understand things in a literary sense more.
You can meet someone else who's a writer there that you can collaborate with, all these things.
Develop so many skills.
Why are you sat there in the modern day waiting for the phone to ring? I don't understand it. And
you've got to make it happen.
Yeah. The way the industry's gone for me, to be honest, with TV at the moment, and it's all these self-tapes and everything, and I'm wanting to take a step back for a bit. I do have a friend, I'll plug her play. She's doing a play called Manchester Rising, which I'm going to a workshop for on Wednesday.
It's called Manchester Rising?
Yeah, I think she's doing it next year. My friend Fran Clark, she's in London now. She was up here, she worked at RSVP, she went to Alra, but she moved down to London. So I said I'll do this workshop with her. I said that'll be my swan song for a bit.
Oh.
But I think she's doing like a play/film.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I'm assuming it'll be somewhere where an audience come. I'll find out more on Wednesday anyway.
That's so interesting.
But I don't think...
let us know.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah. I think she's doing it 2027 though, she said.
So. Oh, right. So
Okay.
it's a long
dragging
lead
out
time.
my retirement.
Well,
never
say never. Never say never.
No. I think I want to step back for it and just...
reassess.
Learn to enjoy it again,
Yeah, that's sensible.
Yeah, and I think I'd probably start venturing into doing more my own content as well. You've got to practice what you preach. I think that's the best tool for people at the moment.
I think it's a sensible approach to, if you're feeling a bit sort of out of the loop with it or anything, just taking a step back and like reassessing if you want to re-enter and at what point and in what way. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sick of waiting for the phone to ring or other people deciding if I get a job. If I want to do something, I want to be able to go and do it. I've done it 20 years now.
Yeah.
Why am I still messing about not getting emails back from casting people?
No,
it can
what
become
happens
really...
to that was going to get put in? Oh, this promise to reply thing that I think Equity are going to put in, that casting directors had to reply. That's gone out the window. Still don't get a reply unless it's someone I'm friends with.
Yes,
so
that's interesting.
It's just, it becomes frustrating after a while, and you think, I just need to take a step back.
Ultimately, why are we doing this? What drives you to be a creative? What drives you to get involved in projects? And I think with One Play One Day, that is what showed why people really wanted to do it. It is for the love of it. It's for the love of creating something, and then also being able to do that and then raise money for charity. It's like people were able to kind of harvest their passion for something so good, and it's finding that ultimately. And if you spend so much of your time investing in worthy projects like that, and being able to meet people like Caroline and I met, like Danny and I and Caroline all work together, and it's just, that is what I think feels fulfilling as an artist ultimately.
I would 100% echo that. I remember when I was starting out, and all I wanted to do was get into TV, and I'd do bits of fringe theatre. I got in 24/7. I was kind of happy about that, and then got my first TV gig, and I was always wanting TV, and then it stopped becoming fulfilling after a while. And kind of another reason behind starting OPOD really was kind of all that fringe that was the fun stuff.
Yes.
That was the fun.
That's why you do it.
That was why I thought you don't get the same buzz doing these. That wears off after a bit.
No, especially like TV a lot of them are quite production line. Like a lot of the soaps. I've done just background work on soaps, and it has been really fun. But there is that element of, it is a business. It's a production line. They get it done. They're really smooth and slick with it. But there isn't that rough and readiness, and you don't get that inherent creativity. I feel, at least from my perspective.
They turn up in the way wanting to know when they're going home.
Yes.
Oh, hopefully we'll be done by 4 o'clock today.
Yeah.
I'm sat there thinking, well, I'm only here for a day. I want to enjoy it,
Yeah.
And
gonna make the most of it.
Yeah, I want to make the most of it. But that's the thing. So when they get in there, it's not that much of a buzz. But you always had a buzz doing the OPODs and
absolutely.
And
And like you're working,
stuff. You're working, and that's the fun stuff, really. I do want to say as well, I don't want to discourage with acting and the industry and whatever how it is, the last 20 years I've been acting has been the best 20 years, and I wouldn't change any of them because it's allowed a lot of opportunities for me to travel and see the world and meet the people I've met. And I remember ringing my mum, and the best moment I had in acting was when I met David Jason, because I loved All the Fools and Horses, and I did a scene with him at Media City.
I never knew you did that.
Yeah. And I remember ringing my mum going, that's the best moment in my acting. I mean, it still is to the day. I didn't get the part. I was just reading for a pilot, and just doing the scene with him, I was like, wow, because All the Fools and Horses was like the best show ever to me. Like, so, there's been so many things over time, but the thing is with acting, it's chaotic career. There's lots of ups, lots of downs. I'm 41 now. I just want the ups.
Yes.
My brother never gets this because he always says to me, you think acting's some different world to like the rest? I said, it is. I said, you don't get it till you're in it. And my mate John May, he did a podcast a bit ago, and I remember him saying on it, he said a lot of jobs you do in life, you go through life and you sort of have these moments, sort of like little ups, little downs, but when you're in this kind of profession, and there's other ones similar to it, it's like that, extreme highs, extreme lows. It's like that. It's very chaotic, but it's fun. And while
it's fun, and get on the, you're on it for the ride, and
you're on it for the ride. And
I don't think you've come across as dissuading people.
Not at all. I think I think it's been really great to hear. That your thoughts on it as someone who has been, acting for 2 decades and done all these other things as well, and the producing, and I think it's good to have that perspective, and for people who want to do this to know kind of what it is that they're getting themselves into, and like what the kind of the great highs and the great lows, as you say. But it is ultimately, it's like, why do you want to do it? And it's because of these amazing moments like that of connection, of getting to sort of the art itself.
The fact that you want to take a step back, reassess, and have a look is because you're keen to retain that feeling. You're keen for that feeling and that sort of aim of having fun, being creative, etc. to be there. That's a positive perspective on it. That is sort of saying, I want to keep that at the forefront of my mind, and I want that to be my aim, and I don't want it to be overtaken by the stress of it, because that can take a toll on you, and it's sensible when that happens to be aware of it and take a step back and reevaluate. So I think that's a positive move. This is a good point to jump back into, reiterate our what's on.
Yeah.
So we've got In Good Conscience coming to the King's Arms Theatre from the 11th to the 14th of July with Red Line Theatre. And this is a piece about protest, polarity and the perils of politics, and about sort of love and ethics. At what point do good deeds become dangerous? I think that's going to be very exciting. It's from our good friend Barbara Diesel, so it will be very, very good.
Shout out to Barbara.
So we'll drop the link in the description below.
And then we also have Love Making to an Inappropriate soundtrack on at 53.2 from the 15th to the 17th of July. And that is a theatre production by Peripateia Theatre Company, told through 10 vignettes. And the show captures momentary glimpses in the lives of people who love each other. And it is just a lovely show, dipping into the kaleidoscope of affection and blending together the sweet and the bitter and the utterly ridiculous of all these relationships. So that is on at 53.2, 15th to the 17th of July.
Fantastic. But we are coming to the end of the podcast recording session.
I just wanted to say before we wrap up, if there's any final thoughts that you have, Danny, for the listeners, anything that you want to share, any advice that you have, although actually you've given a lot of advice.
That's the thing, exactly.
Already.
Any final nuggets though?
I would just say, just be bold if you want to do it. Just go out there, be creative, don't be shy, don't tiptoe around anyone or anything. If you're writing off to casting directors and agents, which you should do, be confident in your email, don't sound desperate. Same if you go in an audition room, go in confident, present what you do, and walk away. Don't stress if you get the job or not.
It's all part of it, isn't it? It's all part of it.
Yeah. Enjoy the process and don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, we're very privileged to be where we are. Whether we're working or not, the fact that we are artists is a wonderful place to be. But we're gonna have to wrap up. If you want to be a guest on MITPod, on the Manchester Indie Theatre podcast, all you need to do is email mitpoddy@gmail.com. That's mitpoddy@gmail.com. You don't have to be a guest, you don't have to come on. You can send us a voice note, you can send us a question, you can send us anything you want within reason. Be nice. And also you can follow us on Instagram at MIT_pod. All links, everything we've mentioned will be in the descriptions below. Please do like, subscribe on both platforms, YouTube and what is it? Spotify.
And Spotify.
And thank you so much for coming on, Danny. It's been so good to talk to you.
It's been good.
It's
Thanks
been
for having us.
brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been great, and I'm sure our listeners have taken a lot from this.
Oh, I'm sure. And thanks everyone for listening. Thanks so much.
Slag me off in the comments. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye. I'm sat away from the microphone, sort of popped like hell there. Sorry, we're recording a podcast at the moment.
OMG, such a bitch.
Sorry, did I leave something here?
I
Charger.
haven't found anything.
You haven't seen anything at all.
Could it be this? Oh, okay.
This could be
I apologise.
Not to worry,
Thanks
good to
so
see
much.
you.
See ya.
We've not had that before. We've not had
Keep
that
that
before.
in.
That's hilarious. Okay, anyway.
It's like when I worked on a short film once and someone had ordered pizza and we were in the middle of a shot and then a guy was just like, we just came to the door, was like, I got your pizza.
Oh,
we
that's
actually
so
credited
funny.
him.
Oh my god, random
Got
pizza
him on
guy.
camera.
That's so funny. Anyway, back to what we were doing before we were so politely interrupted.